I think he's trying to break this country, get us to a breaking point, burn the country to the ground so that it can be remade in his image, or get it to a breaking point where most of the country, not just his base, screams for a dictator to put it all back together.
Former Republican Congressman Joe Walsh, thank you for talking to me today.
Good to be with you, my friend.
So Trump has deployed the National Guard and now the Marines in response to riots in LA over the mass deportations in the sanctuary city and the way in which ICE conducted those raids. Trump's justification being Article 10 of the US Code, allowing the deployment of troops in times of rebellion which threatened the US government. Do you think the LA riots are on a scale that constitutes a rebellion and a threat to the US government?
No, not at all. There's no rebellion. There's no invasion. There's no immigration crisis in this country. I'm so tired of, I've never beaten around the bush with Trump. He's a fascist. He's a dictator. He's an authoritarian. He's a tyrant. He's the very thing our founders feared. He's a madman. He's an idiot. He's cruel and he's ignorant. Oh, and he's a pathological liar. We have all of that in a White House right now. And he came out 2 hours ago and, you know, he's having a big Kim Jong-un birthday party, military parade in Washington, D.C. this upcoming Saturday. And Donald Trump said 2 hours ago that anybody who protests his military parade will be met by the military with force. What an ugly, autocratic thing to say.
That sounds quite, would you say that constitutes the actions of an authoritarian?
He is. I've been saying this for a long time. People now have woken up and begun saying it after he was sworn in January. He is a tyrant. He is a dictator. He's not a dictator wannabe, just like he's not a Putin lover or a Putin fan. He works for Putin. He is a dictator. He's an authoritarian, and he's using the powers of his office. He ignores the Constitution every day. He doesn't give a flying you-know-what about the rule of law. So yes, this is a very, very scary place we're in right now.
How do you feel about the comparison that some are drawing between the National Guard and Marines being called in for these riots, yet on January 6th, there was a very delayed response, shall we say, of any such actions by Trump?
Again, there is no reason to try to apply any consistency to him, with him. You can do that with members of my former party, the Republican Party, but Donald Trump, and this is so important for people to realize, and I know you do, we've never had this before. I was a politician. Politicians lie and they fudge and they hedge. They do all of that. Donald Trump lies every single time he opens his mouth. And we as a country, we've never known how to handle that. So now when Trump lies, it's not a story because he lies 1,000 times a day. We've normalized his lying. We've normalized his bad, un-American behavior. Where you and I started, there's no crisis in this country. There's no immigration crisis. There's no rebellion. But Trump is trying to create a crisis for very ugly, sinister reasons.
Well, tell me what those reasons are.
I don't think he wants the 2026 midterm elections to happen. I think this is absolutely a dry run. I think this is the beginning of the summer, and I think things are going to get ugly this summer. Donald Trump's wet dream is to put our Marines, our military on our streets against American citizens. Don't forget, I know you haven't, don't forget, we're talking about a president who in his first term ordered his Secretary of Defense to order the military to shoot at American civilians when they were protesting in Washington, D.C. The defense secretary then said no, so that didn't happen. Pete Hegseth, the current defense secretary, what is he, about 16 years old? He won't say no. He'll say yes. Donald Trump wants, and I'm very careful in how I say this. Donald Trump wants to burn this country to the ground, and he wants to be the authoritarian standing. He does not want there to be elections next year. He wants to declare martial law, invoke the Insurrection Act, and just say, oh my God, we need the military on our streets. We can't have elections this year. Imagine the worst with him.
So you think it's not just he will declare a martial law and ban certain elections. He will essentially move in the military in order to assert martial law over the entire country.
He will put, if he's able to, the American military on American citizens. He will have the American military, our men and women of the Army, the Marines, whatever, going after American citizens protesting on our streets. Yes. Now, what we can hope for is, what is the resistance? So, we in the White House right now have the very thing our founders feared. This is what we rebelled against, right? No kings in America. Well, we have him. So how are we resisting? Forget about Congress. I used to be a congressman. We don't have a Congress anymore. By the way, this is what the United States looks like without a Congress. They're utterly subservient to him. So the courts have been holding pretty strongly against him. The American people are rising up and protesting against him. But you know, it may take members of the military, rank and file members of the military down the road who say no, defy those orders. I will not shoot at American citizens. We are in uncharted ground here.
And so what do you think of Governor Newsom's attempts to sue Trump? I mean, I think he said he's suing Trump now. I think this makes 24th or the 25th case that he has against the president. This one being the 24th, 25th about the deployment of the National Guard. Where do you see that going?
Oh, I think it's absolutely the right thing to do. Gavin Newsom, like a lot of Democrats, tried to coddle up to Trump after he won. Like we were all out campaigning against Trump last year, and we called him a fascist and a threat to democracy. I said that every day because I believed it. But then right when Trump won, for some reason, Gavin Newsom and most of the Democrats tried to think, oh, we can work with him. We can appease him. It's just like how a lot of world leaders come to the White House and they get down on their knees and they try to make nice with this mad guy. That's freaking idiotic. But so Newsom now, right, has wised up because Donald Trump has declared war on his state. You'll notice that Trump has not sicked his immigration cops in red states anywhere or in red neighborhoods or communities. He's specifically targeting Democratic blue states. So good on Newsom for fighting back. The way things work here in America is, the National Guard is the province of the state. The governor runs the National Guard. And there's no reason for the president to supersede that.
President Trump's comments previously in relation to calling the National Guard, he said that he wouldn't, even in the case of, I think he was saying that situation in, was it Philadelphia? What do you think how do you think he's managed to shift the conversation?
Again, you're asking good, normal questions that we would put in front of the hypocrisy displayed by good, normal politicians. That ain't Trump. When he said that a few years ago, he didn't know what he was saying and he didn't believe what he was saying. He is an idiot and he's a pathological liar. So that's why, like the normal hypocrisy that politicians display, they don't apply to him because he has no core. I mean, most politicians have a core set of beliefs. I have a core set of beliefs, which is why I turned against Trump. Most Republicans have a core set of beliefs, but they've sold those beliefs to stay in power with Trump. Trump doesn't have a core set of beliefs. All Trump believes in is Trump and the accumulation of power. He wants to be a strong man. He has a political party that has told him, sir, you can be a strong man. And so, boom, away he goes.
How close then do you think Trump is to getting away with his grand plan, as you might put it?
Well, 4.5 years ago, he tried to overthrow an American election. And he almost got away with it. In fact, you could argue he committed crimes trying to overthrow an American election. And he did get away with that. He hasn't been held accountable for any of those crimes that he committed. The prosecution was dropped because he got reelected. Here he is back in the White House after he tried to overthrow the election 4.5 years ago. In his defense, he believes he's untouchable. He believes he can do anything. You combine that with the Supreme Court, who told him last year he can do whatever he wants. So right now we have a guy in the White House who believes he can do literally whatever he wants. He has a political party, his political party, that enables him or helps him. If I were him, I'd think I could do anything and get away with it.
So we're maybe coming up on 6 months into Trump's second term. Where do you see the next 3.5 years going?
I think two things. I think things are going to get uglier by the day. I think things are going to get violent in America these next 3.5 years. I think we're going to have political violence like this country and the world has never seen us have. I think we are at a moment in this country where it all could break. I would remind everyone that Trump didn't create how divided and broken our politics are. Trump is just the worst emanation and consequence of how broken we are. But when I said that Trump wants to burn this country down, I believe that. I believe that. And so he's going to try to do that. Unfortunately, we have a lot of people on the left in this country who don't give a damn about this country either. And so like 99% of the people out protesting in Los Angeles the last 4 days, all peaceful protesters. But man, you've got agitators, you've got troublemakers who have done bad things. Look at the protest on the college campuses the last 19 months since October 7th. I'm very pro-Israel, but the vast majority of people protesting against Israel on our college campuses have been peaceful, but you've had troublemakers. And oh, by the way, that kind of stuff emboldens Trump. If we see stuff burning down and we see rioting and looting, like we're seeing some of in LA, that just strengthens Trump.
So he's just using these well, I suppose feeding into his own justification, as you would think.
Yes, and yes, so he knows, like we all know, that there are gonna be bad actors on the far left who will take advantage of these protests to cause mayhem. Trump knows that. The people around Trump know that. You combine that with Donald Trump is the instigator here. So Trump is trying to incite violence. He's trying to instigate violence. He's trying to create a crisis. And he'll nab on to those nuggets on the far left to say, oh my God, every automobile in Los Angeles is aflame right now, is burning. Every business is burning. This is the kind of BS they've been saying. And it's echoed on Fox News and elsewhere. So half the country believes this. That's what's so scary.
So you're saying that Trump has, I suppose, yeah, you've already said it, has purposefully misled the American people to justify his own deployment of American troops to then escalate the scale of the conflict.
Oh, completely.
And
completely.
so on it goes.
Completely. He's lying to the American people. And remember again who we're talking about. He lied to the American people about a stolen election in 2020. He did that to purposely incite violence, January 6th. He's doing the same thing here. He's lying about what's happening in Los Angeles to purposely incite violence to then have a justification for putting the Marines on our streets. It's all purposeful incitement.
So do you think he's then trying to push America toward, you said burn the country to the ground. Do you think he's trying to push America towards a civil war, essentially?
I think he's trying to break this country, get us to a breaking point, burn the country to the ground so that it can be remade in his image, or get it to a breaking point where most of the country, not just his base, screams for a dictator to put it all back together. You see, his base, and I come from his base has given up on democracy. They've told me over and over for years that they don't mind that Trump's a dictator if he can give them back the America they want. Trump wants to break this country to the point where it's not just his base screaming out for a strongman, a dictator, to fix it.
So then his end goal would be?
Well, his end goal would be America cries out for a dictator to fix everything, so we abolish the Constitution, democracy, the rule of law. If he were younger, maybe then he'd stay in permanent power, or he will handpick who his next strongman will be.
So then how does the deployment of the Navy fit into this image that you're painting here of instigation, National Guard, Navy? What then, I suppose, would come next as well?
It's a good question. And how will we be protected from this plan of his? Well, it's a complicated question. Take the military, rank and file American military members in the Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force. Trump's got a lot of support among rank and file. How will that break if all hell breaks loose? I don't know. Law enforcement. We have about 1.5 million cops in this country. Trump's got a lot of support among rank and file cops. How will they break state by state? Again, these are scary things to contemplate. But when we talk about the American people and the courts resisting a king, I think we're going to have to see some of our other institutions stand up against him, the military. But boy, I'll tell you what, the jury's out as to how that would play out.
You sort of led up to my next thought, which is what, if we're to go along with your painting of the picture here, what can then be done to counteract that sort of trajectory?
It's such a good question. I'm sorry. It's such a good question. I don't know, because think about it. Well, think about this. So back in January, after the 2020 election, on January 6th, what if Mike Pence, who was the last man standing, hadn't done the right thing and certified the election result? What if Mike Pence had done what Trump had done? And then Trump would have said, see, stolen election, I'm not leaving the White House. I'm staying in power. Well, then what would have happened? Would the military have forced him out of the White House? I don't know. Would Joe Biden, who won the 2020 election, have done whatever he could do to help get Trump out? We don't know. If Mike Pence had not done the right thing that day, I don't know how that would have played out. I know Donald Trump then would have tried to lock himself in the White House, and half the country would have believed he's our president. So now here we are. Trump manufactures a crisis, and you're seeing protests and riots all over the country this next year and a half, and people are dying, and there's violence everywhere. Who does what? A lot's going to depend on law enforcement and our military when everything breaks down.
Is there? You've said that a lot of people within the law enforcement and the military are at least have sympathies for Trump. Where do you think that bottoms out? Like, is it a realistic concept that things might get too far for them, or do you think that they are already ready for a fight? Perhaps
It's hard to tell. I wouldn't have guessed. Like, I publicly came out against Trump 7 years ago. And at that time, I expected a lot of my fellow Republicans to join me. They didn't. So Republican politicians all laid down for him, even though most of them believed what I believe about Trump. So the political class laid down for him. We've seen since he won again, the media class is laying down for him. Law firms are laying down for him. We're seeing some of our institutions, now that he won again, kind of acquiesce and bow to him and strengthen him as an authoritarian. Would law enforcement and or our military do the same thing? I'm going to naively believe that law enforcement and our military would provide a stronger resistance to Trump than our political class and our media class and our business class.
I've seen some interesting conclusions drawn from people that Trump's, I think it's fair to say, continuous stretching and testing of the limits of presidential power have been in efforts to bring these issues to the courts, to then, in order to bring them to the Supreme Court, which is then a Republican majority, also with a number put there by Trump. This is quite a long string. And he's therefore trying to go through the expansion of the presidential power, and through that, is this something that rings true for you, or is this just something that is a bit unnecessary if he's just going to declare martial law anyway?
I think that kind of thought's too smart for Trump. I'm a Johnny one note on this, and maybe that's why I'm a bad guest on shows like this, because we talk so much about him and we don't talk enough about how he's really a stupid man, which makes him very dangerous. So I think Trump just sees right in front of him, I want to build that condo and put the Trump name on it. I want to strengthen my power. I want to make more money. I think Trump just thinks this way. People around him are smarter, and they have dangerous plans. They're using kind of the figure he is to try to push an America down our throats. So I worry more about their long-range planning. Oh, my God. No, I mean, think about it. Listen to what we just talked about for 20 minutes. How scary. Like, how we're talking about the leader of the free world, this country. And we haven't even talked about, right, the fact that we are no longer part of the free world because Donald Trump is on Putin's side. Donald Trump works for Putin. I'm not saying that they pay him, but he's clearly a Russian asset. So we haven't even gotten into America's relationship with the rest of the world. All I say generally is, if you are the rest of the world and you belong to the free world, ignore us for 3.5 years. I mean that. We're not your friend. As long as Donald Trump is in the White House, America is not your friend, United Kingdom and France and Germany and all of the rest of you.
I think it's important to say that Donald Trump would obviously refute any claims that he is a Russian asset or working for Putin. But that said, former Republican Congressman Joe Walsh, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, my friend.